Hello again, Fairhaven Town Administrator Keith Hickey with the latest edition of Town Report for the week ending March 13th, 2026. Hard to believe that 2 weeks ago we were sitting in 3 feet of snow, and now you walk outside and all there really is left is some small snow pile. Again, we had a meeting this past Monday night with the Select Board. Public Works Department, Police Department, and Fire Department were there. We discussed what occurred during that snowstorm, some things that we could try to address if and when a storm like that comes back in the future, what we could do better, what we did well. Some of the things that I think it's important for people to recognize is Public Works ended up pulling their crews off the road for about 5 hours during the height of the storm because you just couldn't see with the severity of the snow and the wind blowing, which really set them back a bit. Once they got back out, some of their smaller one-ton vehicles just frankly couldn't plow the amount of snow, the heavy wet snow that was there. We were fortunate enough on Wednesday to get some support from Massachusetts Emergency Management. We had crews you may have seen as far away as Vermont in town plowing and sanding with trucks and equipment. We also had some of our local contractors that once they were finished up with some of the work that they've been doing on sanding and salting private roads, properties, they came out and made a significant difference. There were, I think, 28 vehicles out on the roads plowing towards the end of the week, trying to get the roads opened back up again. Like I said, I know there was some frustration, and we understand that, but I can assure you that the department heads that were involved in the snowstorm planned and were prepared for the storm, and overall staff for every department did a great job making sure that the snow impacted people as little as possible. We opened up a warming center. We went and picked up people that couldn't make it to the warming center, brought people to doctor's appointments when they needed to. So thank you for the staff, and thank you for the community for your patience and understanding during a pretty challenging time. Again, one of the things that I think is important for people is at least twice a day during the height of the storm for that week or so, there was 2 announcements that were sent out through our emergency management and a reverse 911 system to people's cell phones, leaving a voicemail message explaining what was going on. If you haven't had the opportunity to sign yourself up for those, if you didn't get those during the storm, you can visit our town webpage, and I think what we'll do is we'll put the link below as I'm speaking here now, and you can sign up for that. It does allow for everybody to be as aware of what's going on as possible. If you don't want to be contacted through your cell phone, through the reverse 911, there are a couple of other options that you can consider. If you have cell phone service and you want to go on the town website, we do post information on the storms and what's happening on the town website. And they're also posted on our town social media pages. So if you want to go to the Fairhaven Facebook page, there's some information on that as well. So there's 2 or 3 different ways to keep up to date with what's happening during a snowstorm or some sort of an emergency event. So try to take advantage of those if we can. In relation to the storm, obviously there were a lot of downed branches and tree limbs and things of that nature. To try to make people aware that the place to bring these to if you want to. The recycling center will be open on Saturday the 14th of March from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Anybody in town, residents in town, can bring clean brush tree limbs to the recycling center, and with or without a permit. Again, doesn't apply to commercial activities for commercial users, but as a regular resident, to get rid of some of the branches that might have fallen, you can certainly do that during normal business hours, 8 to 2 on Saturday the 14th, at no cost to you. There was a select board meeting this past Monday, the 9th of March, a discussion on the charter that was approved by town meeting a year ago. The Senate Council reviewed and had some questions on the charter. Our town council reviewed questions with our charter committee a couple of weeks ago and met with the select board this past Monday night and reviewed the questions and got the feedback that she needed from the select board as well. We're hoping to have the Senate Council finalize and approve the draft charter so we can have it back on the ballot for this spring for final approval by the voters. Our building commissioner, Rick Foran, came in and had some recommended changes to some of the charges that the town assesses for different types of building permits. Every couple of years, 3 years, we review building permit fees as well as other fees in town to make sure that we're competitive with our other communities around us, our competitors. There were a few minor changes that Mr. Foran was proposing. He brought those in front of the select board, and the board approved those fee changes. The last time we adjusted those fees was 3 years ago in 2023. We had a request to fill an open spot on our capital planning committee. So we had an appointment to the capital planning committee. We had a request for an event for the 20th annual watershed ride on the 4th of October. Buzzards Bay Coalition submitted an event request form for use of public roads The board approved that. We also talked about closing a small section of the bike path that abuts the Atlas Tech property. As people that may be familiar with the area or may be aware, there's a portion of a remaining building on the Atlas Tech property that continues to deteriorate. The concern that we have is if that building were to fall towards the bike path, it may fall beyond the existing fence line. So we've asked Atlas Tech to move the fence. We're also going to close that small portion of the bike path and utilize a small section of South Street for people who are continuing to use the bike path just for safety purposes. So you'll see those barriers going up sometime in the near future from Public Works. If you have any questions or comments about that, please feel free to reach out. Be happy to try to answer those for you. The Select Board approve and ratify a memorandum of understanding for a new 3-year contract with the Police Collective Bargaining Unit. Police in the town were able to come up with a successor agreement to their collective bargaining agreement, and the Select Board supported that. The terms of that agreement were the same as the terms that were approved for other town collective bargaining units, so there was some consistency there, which was good, and the money that needed to fund that, which is about $24,000 for fiscal 27, that money was already approved at the 2025 town meeting for collective bargaining agreements. We then had a pledge of collateral for the all-alcohol beverage license for Bitter Wallace, doing business as the Bitter End. That was approved by the Select Board. And one of the things that will affect people who come to the town office building, later on in March, we're going to change our operating hours of the town office building. So the new town hall hours will be effective Monday, March 23rd. The hours will be 7:30 in the morning until 6 p.m. on Mondays. 7:30 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then on Fridays, it'll be 7:30 in the morning. It'll be closing at 11:30 in the morning. We've done this for a couple of reasons, primarily to allow people who need to come into the town office building to be able to do that before their regular business hours or after their regular business hours on Mondays. We're also making this change to try to have the town of Fairhaven be a more attractive place to attract employees that would work in the town office building. A lot of businesses now are closing either half days or all day on Friday. We're finding that we've lost some potential employees because there were better conditions or working conditions or working hours or what have you elsewhere. So what the Select Board has agreed to is to close early on Fridays, try to be open later on Monday nights, and try to make the hours a little more convenient for those who need to come in the building. Lastly, the Select Board discussed and ended up agreeing to waive their compensation for fiscal 27. The Select Board get paid just over $6,000 a year for being elected to the Select Board. So knowing that the Finance Committee and town departments and the Select Board are working to try to find a affordable budget as we possibly can for fiscal 27, the Select Board felt it was appropriate to lead by example and waive their compensation for fiscal 2027. That was our agenda for this past Monday night. The Select Board has asked the Finance Committee to meet jointly Thursday the 19th of March in the evening to have the Select Board, the Finance Committee, and potentially the School Committee all meet and try to sit down and work through the operating budget primarily and come up with a budget that they all can support and bring forward to budgetary town meeting in May. So Finance Committee is still meeting a couple times a week. They meet again next Tuesday and ideally next Thursday. At that point, I think the Finance Committee will hopefully be just about wrapping up. They might need one more meeting, try to finalize things on the warrant, and then the warrant will be set and we'll be gearing up for town meeting. So lots of stuff going on still. Try to keep you informed when we make these TV shows on a weekly basis. So I want to thank everybody very much for watching again. Hope everybody has a great week and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.